6, coming on a little bit earlier today. Happy Saturday, everybody. So let's get started. Really good news happening today. A lot happening behind the scenes, as always. And this is what it takes to get justice when you're talking about the El Paso cartel. It's huge, and it takes a lot of work to get justice when you have organized crime, and that's would be Poison Ponds, right? Poison Ponds with Julio Cordero. We need Julio Cordero, but his life was taken from him just recently. But he was the most decorated FBI agent in El Paso history, and he was the investigator behind Poison Ponds that led to a raid on the El Paso courthouse years ago. 40 people, I think over 40 officials, were arrested. It was just splendid. It was just wonderful. We want to Poison Ponds 2.0, and I think that that's what's happening right now. I think that's what's coming is Poison Ponds 2.0, and of course all the information that we found out this week with Knopf and Baim really connect the dots when it comes to how Julio Cordero's life was taken from him. So we'll be getting more into that. That's so, um, it's, yeah. Rest in peace, Julio. So, yeah, I get a little emotional talking about what they've done to our heroes, So let's get to business. We are on day 2,142 days, I believe, 1,142 days. And today's Saturday, like I said, June 13th, 2026, President Trump announced that he took out another big cartel leader. This is TREN de Aragua's big leader. And I haven't mentioned the TDA or Trend Cartel, but it has a lot to do with the El Paso Cartel and the El Chapo fentanyl governor, Maru Campos. And I'm going to share with you right away why that's so important. And you'll see on this map, I found this map and with Homeland Security information. And I posted it up so you can look at it more closely. But this is why, the last year and a half since President Trump got into office, thank God he got into office. Thank you, everyone, for voting for him. We voted for him. We've been voting for him from the very beginning. Yeah, we took one look at his financials and we said we're voting for him. This was in 2015, and I posted up his financials. When you look at his financials, after your jaw drops to the ground and you pick it back up, because it's so impressive. Um, when you focus on who President Trump has had to negotiate with to get all of his businesses around the world the way he has, and living overseas, building overseas also, our family, and not to the extent that he built, but just our home and everything in Ireland, and knowing what it takes to build in Germany, and just, uh, living overseas and seeing all of that, the regulations and the restrictions, and it is just incredible what President Trump has has succeeded in doing in the business world. And you can see that as president, he knows what he's doing. He had all this planned out and worked his tail off to be reelected and be reelected with a plan, with a very thought out plan. And of course, it was to take down the terroristic organizations, which uh, are cartels, right? They are cartels. And of course, he named the Sinaloa cartel as a terroristic organization, along with CJNG and along with TREN de Aragua. And so that has been his focus. And of course, he took out uh, uh, Maduro from Venezuela, who had a grip on Venezuela. And there's oil there, right? There's oil there. There was also reports of election tampering hubs, like international hubs that would tamper with elections all over the world, especially in the United States. And so I think this map is just, we're very, very grateful for whoever put this together. And you just have to really love AI to help get all of this out so quickly. Um, there you see Venezuela right here. And where do they go? Of course, they go up through Central America and they go to El Paso. They go to Chihuahua. Okay, that's where they go. They have to go to Chihuahua, okay, to get the access into the United States. Not only the access, but the resources. And this is why that treasonous treaty between the El Chapo fentanyl governor, Maru Campos, and the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, is so treasonous because one of the big parts of it was for the DPS to have open access for these 18 wheelers that they could quickly go through the border. But wait a minute, 18 wheelers, they carry a lot of things, including humans. They carry drugs, they carry weapons back and forth, and drugs back and forth, and humans back and forth. Um, and so it really is a treasonous treaty. And of course, they had no right to even create a treaty. That's not their jobs to do. That was an assault on the sovereignty of Mexico and the sovereignty of the United States. Um, uh, it's those federal governments, Mexico City and Washington, D.C., that it's their jurisdiction, it's their duty, their constitutional duty to make these international treaties, not Maru Campos and surely not Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And so they really facilitated, it was facilitated by El Paso operative and double agent Alejandro de la Vega Foster, who, served on the Chihuahua governor's administration and also the border security committees, the law enforcement and the intelligence committees for the border, and of course, the economic uh, role she had and economic development role she had in the administration with the building of the grid, the Sentinel grid, the platforma, they call it, which includes a 20-story tower, high rise, glass with a helicopter pad on the top of it, with a dedicated 18th floor for DPS and CIA and FBI and um, Homeland Security and CBP and DEA, um, compromised agents that would be on the payroll of Chihuahua, that Chihuahua would have to, um, you know, I just can't even believe that they put that on the Chihuahuan people. This is how cruel they are. This is how, um, up to no good. And you can tell it's a full assault on Mexico and the United States, what they were doing. And this full assault included the Tren de Aragua, from going from Venezuela into Chihuahua, getting resources, getting maybe even visas, because part of this treasonous treaty was visa access. They gave visa access to the cartels, not only to the cartels, um, that they could have access to the federal intelligence databases so they would know what cases, which whistleblowers, what investigators were looking into maybe their criminal activities. But they were given access to the surveillance, to the drones, to visas, to driver's license, to access to American banks so they can create bank accounts so that they could buy property. So this is, really very, very treasonous and really an assault on both countries. And you can see it very clearly here. And it's very interesting that it's Utah County, Denver, Cannon County, Chicago, New York. These are these are places, and I would even say in Pennsylvania, but in Florida too. Um, which is not shown on this map, but these are places, and of course California here, that are definitely connected and tied to our son's case, the Walmart mass shooting case, the El Paso cartel. Um, the perpetrators, they have this huge network, this cartel network. And that's why this is just so jaw dropping all the time. And people, want things done very speedily, but then they look at maps like this and they understand this is about fuel theft. This is about weapons for drugs. This is about human trafficking, child trafficking, female sex trafficking. This is about organ harvesting. This is about targeting pregnant women, to do illegal C sections on them so that they can take their babies and sell their babies into the homosexual market. That's not me saying saying that is what is reported in the reports, that they targeted the homosexual black market to sell the babies to. Um, and so it's all, uh, it's not something that you can just start, call your police and say, I want this person arrested, except if you're Leilani Hart, the FBI. There's so much there. They can absolutely, just one phone call, they should be able, they should go and arrest Leilani Hart immediately. But when President Trump came in with this network, and it ties into our economy, right? It ties into our energy sources because of the fuel theft, and tying to Pemex, which is the Mexican public fuel, and of course Venezuela. And then you have the people that were making so much money that are embedded everywhere, that are really after President Trump, trying to sabotage anything that he does. And so this required a plan, and you see that the plan is um, is absolutely moving forward now. To get this Tren de Aragua, major leader, is huge, absolutely huge, especially after El Mencho, and almost 100 extraditions of cartel leadership. um, you would think that they would be really dug in, that Tren de Aragua absolutely knew. They had access to the cases, you see. They had access to the databases, so they know what's going on. You would think uh, they would be really dug in, and I'm sure they were. And so this tells you what President Trump, how he's been operating, because he knows that they have access. How does he know? Because of the treasonous treaty, okay? The treasonous treaty that they were so bold, so sure that nobody could do anything about. And now that it is being reported all over Mexico, and of course in the United States as well, because of us and because of you sharing it, it's a very, very big deal. And he absolutely knows, because his eye is on El Paso, because he just took down the Tren de Aragua leadership. And you can't take that leadership down without having your eye on El Paso. So this is just another, and we knew before this news came out, because of his letters to us and everything, that his eyes are on El Paso, and he absolutely knows about the El Paso cartel. He absolutely knows the involvement with the military, and with them orchestrating and staging the very bloody Walmart mass shooting. He knows that. He knows that they targeted him. Um, Weaponizing the Walmart mass shooting against him unjustly, absolutely unjustly. So, this was absolutely election tampering. And I think almost all of these things are election tampering, because it's all about the fight for power, right? They all want the power so that they can get immunity and they can operate with impunity. So, yeah, it is very, very clear. And I think that is. Um, really a very, very powerful map. So, one other thing that is even more powerful than that is how President Trump's administration took out this Tren de Aragua leader. So, I have this for you, and I don't know if I should. Let's see if, let's see. Wow. Okay, we got to watch that again. There we go. That's how serious he is. This is the U.S. Southern Command takes out this Tren de Aragua leader that's hiding out in this building here. And it's lethal, and it's swift. And swift and lethal, swift and sure was ADA, right? It was 143, swift and sure. Um, so this is how the cartel is being taken out. And President Trump means business. He means big business. He means lethal business for those that are engaged in the trafficking and everything. And so this is another step closer um, to the repatriation of our son's remains. It really is. I believe that with the bottom of my heart, because what they did to Richard uh, is really an act of war, and he's not going to let that stand. And Richard was President Trump's whistleblower. Really, at the end of the day, he was the one whistleblowing what was going on, the criminal trafficking, and the Walmart mass shooting was used to divert those reports. He was the whistleblower, and then he blew further about the Walmart mass shooting, and how the military was involved in that. And we know, because we saw uh, all the attacks that have happened against President Trump. And if you don't know, you should go check that out. But clearly, the military was in like a coup against President Trump. I would call it a mutiny against President Trump. And so many soldiers didn't want to participate in it, but because of the way the military is built, um, you can't argue. Okay, you can't argue, and this is why this is so serious, and why our military really needs um, very vetted leadership. The leadership, uh, you know, who the Senate Arms Committee promoted, like Sean Bernabe and Donna Martin and so many others that are traitors, that they're treasonous, and and they were promoted, to be the leaders in the military. So it is not absurd for me to say that there was a mutiny inside the military against Richard and against President Trump. Absolutely. And I would even say Richard's whistleblower, Judge Roger Rodriguez, because the JAG and uh, just the way Fort Bliss and the military um, uh, covered up. They whitewashed his whistleblower report in Richard's files. So, this delayed. It was just so criminal. It's just so treasonous and so criminal. And the proof is there. Um, Anybody that's a naysayer at this point must be part of the cartel or a friend of the cartel. Okay. And as you see in the map that I presented, they're not a small criminal organization. It is something that it is really like a civil war. You do have to have a plan. And President Trump, thank God, you don't build high-rise towers. Okay. You do not build high-rise towers internationally. You don't buy um, golf courses, right? Uh, um, in Scotland. You don't buy uh, golf courses and clubs in Scotland and want to renovate them and everything without a plan, okay? Without a plan, without know how. And so, he really is a leader, a huge leader, well, and very well read and uh, experienced, and he is applying all of that and I don't mean, my point is not to um shower him um with praise and everything. What I'm trying to say is that you don't go after the cartel that are embedded the way they are in our judicial system and our law enforcement system and in all of the contracts that have to do with our military and our city governments, just like El Paso ISD. If you just look at El Paso and then you say, okay, that's happening in Chicago and in New York and in Los Angeles and in Utah County and those places, Denver, uh, you don't, take that on and dismantle it with a leader that has no experience, with a leader that does not understand international negotiations, and is not willing to negotiate. You see, you have to negotiate um, in order to move forward. It's and to get something done. And so to get the location of the spot that was bombed that I just showed you to smithereens, totally to smithereens, whoever was in there, that Tren de Aragua, and they did name him, uh, he didn't have a chance, okay? But how did he get the location? So, you know, when you have bad actors and spies and double agents like Alejandro de la Vega, Foster, um, in the DNI, and we know that they are in the intelligence, in the CIA, they are in the CIA, in the FBI, they are there, in the DEA, they are there. How do you know who to trust, what information is correct? Um, when you have bad actors, okay? And absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind that President Trump has had to work with bad actors, okay, through that don't well, like Thune, right? Like in the Senate, Lindsey Graham. You think I like him backing Lindsey Graham? I just want to throw up because I know what Lindsey Graham did to us. I just want to throw up. But I am so delighted to see the cartels being dismantled, and seeing Maru Campos being dismantled, because that means that the El Paso cartel is being dismantled, okay? Because it's all connected. It's all one big like octopus with all of these tentacles, and those tentacles are um, are uh, being ripped off one by one. You say Cesar Hargi, you see Cesar Duarte, you see Cesar Pediche. Do you want to name your son Cesar? I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure it's a pretty good name, but you see all of these dominoes falling, the all of the cartel uh, tentacles falling. I'm naming some big players here. Um, so it is, and we're getting in slowly when you see a retired Marine four-star general joining with Maru Campos, something is very wrong, right? Very wrong. So that needs to be dismantled. And those same intelligence 50, what it was at 52, 51, 52, that signed on to the Russiagate thing, stupid thing, that we always knew it was stupid in our family. We always knew it was stupid. It was the most ridiculous thing. How do I know that? Because my parents lived in Moscow for 9 years. Okay, they lived in my dad worked at the American embassy there. So we, had this inside view of Russia, and what the Russiagate thing was trying to make people believe we know was the most absurd thing in the world. I mean, God's just given us in our family all of these experiences like tools to fight off the psyops, to fight off the psyops. I'm just in awe all the time, and praise to God for preparing us to fight for Richard. And of course, this is why Richard didn't fall for the psyops either. And it's hard because they're very good. They're very, very good. But these intelligence leaders, right, that signed off to this, they they knew they were backing up General Kelly working for Maru Campos, and we know from good sources that it was Alejandro de la Vega and Paul Foster and Woody Hunt that suggested and recommended to Maru Campos that she hire John Kelly. So, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we getting ready for uh, treason? And I think it's compared to 5 years ago. Uh, we have come a long way because I was talking that they were treasonous, and you would not believe the harassment that I received because I was saying what they were doing was treasonous. So I've been living through it, and now I say it's treasonous, and people are saying, "Yep, it's treasonous," and I'm like, "Yes." Yes, we are getting there. And so it takes, because we are countries, both Mexico and the United States, countries of the people, for the people and of the people. And that's why they want to control the media so much. And that's why they want to control us so much. And, this is why sharing And, 5 years ago, you say the word cartel and people would shake and everything and want to go and hide in a different room. Now, you're allowed to say the word cartel, and say that they are absolutely criminal and we need to stop them. They are the problem. And so for President Trump to announce, okay, we have destroyed a Tren de Aragua leader, we're all like, yes, get those cartel leaders. 5 years ago, people were they were very afraid to even say anything. They were even afraid to celebrate because the uh, w- I'm just saying we have the leverage now. We have the leverage. They are so weakened and so destroyed. And the main leaders like El Mayo and El Chapo that um, were talented leaders. Okay, talented leaders. Were they criminal? Absolutely, but they were talented leaders that would keep things together. They're in prison. Okay, so it's very chaotic, and it's kind of like Iran. Who's the leader in Iran? You've got this Chinese speaking kind of dude threatening ships. You have, uh, so many different factions inside of Iran. Now, the Navy's on the bottom of the strait, and who's a leader, and it looks like the leader is President Trump. It doesn't even look like it. It is President Trump, and the media doesn't want to say the leader of what's going on in Iran is President Trump. They don't even want to be proud of that. We have a Senate that and several bad actors that don't want the success of the United States. They don't want the golden age. They don't want. I just looked at the price of crude oil before I came on. I think it was like 77, $78, and I'm sure that it's a little higher than that. But the point is that it is dropping. And the media was saying it was going to be like $200 a barrel. And, so they don't know what they're talking about. They're wrong all the time, and they're wrong all the time on purpose. It's intentional. We know because of all of our dealings with the media, for the legacy media, that they have an agenda, and their agenda is to sabotage President Trump, and which means they want to sabotage a golden age. And when President Trump talks about a golden age for the United States, that rubs off on Mexico, and you see how it's rubbing off on Mexico because Maru Campos, the El Chapos, the El Chapitos, they are totally losing power in Mexico now. And of course, Chihuahua is just totally changing. Um, uh, you know, they're just trying to get the crumbs now. And even just survive a little bit. The cartels feel like if they can just survive a little bit now on a crumb, then maybe later on in some years we could regrow our um, our criminal organization. I don't know. It's uh, it really is falling apart, and they're very weak. Is there still work to be done? Absolutely, because we need Lonnie Hart in handcuffs, right? And then many other operatives and double agents. Yeah, because they have a lot of blood on their hands, y'all. They have a lot of blood on their hands. But these are treason level, and a lot of them have protection because they're inside our government, right? So, but I really feel that President Trump is exposing it, and yeah, it's it was just really a great day to see another big cartel leader like TREN de Aragua, uh, lose a big leader and weaken the same El Paso cartel network that is responsible for the murder and cover up the trafficking of our sons' remains. And I don't even know if I gave the spiel tonight but please share all of this information that Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room, taken down to the arms room where his life was taken. And then, because of the El Paso cartel network, they could, which included the military, y'all. It included cartel infiltration in our military. They could steal Richard's body off of Fort Bliss, even with all the security. Okay, they were the CIA. The CID, and they were the Director of Emergency Services. So they were able to do that and then traffic his body across the border to Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, for disposal. So, you know, all the connections are coming together. We've named names, we've put it all out there on our Facebook. It just needs to be shared, okay? And people need to talk about it. And yesterday we had a God bless Sentinella that shared, that is making um, reels on Facebook. Just God bless them so much. Please join their site so you can share it. And I'm sure, I hope, they will benefit out of this, out of their courage right now. But just that they have the courage to do what they're doing tells you that um, the cartel leadership in Mexico has really suffered a blow. Okay, that they are very weakened now, because a lot of media wouldn't even be able to share anything like that, because the cartel were brutal, and people were getting shot in the head, and it's still very violent now, but we're making great leaps forward, and we're not giving up at all. We are working very hard behind the scenes. And one day people are going to realize how hard that we have worked behind the scenes, legally, officially, and documenting everything, identifying crimes, documenting the crimes, and filing the crimes over and over and over again, so that nobody has an excuse. Nobody has an excuse, and nobody can say they didn't know. So we appreciate all the information that you're sharing with us. Keep sharing it with us. We can't always answer back. Matter of fact, you know, it's really the documenting, the filing, or answering people. So we're picking, the forming all of the letters, documenting it, making sure it's in the right language, that it is very, very powerful legally, and then filing it. And that takes time and a lot of effort to do that. So, um, it's not that we're not seeing what you're sharing. We are absolutely seeing what you're sharing. We're absolutely chewing on what you're sharing and using it, and we are documenting everything that we can, um, and filing it. So we're really, really hard trying to do all that to the best that we can. So thank you so much, and let me read some of the comments. Thank you, Laura, for coming on. Thank you for your love and prayers. They want us to live in the communism. Yeah, um, well, it's even worse than that. It's like a Hunger Games, isn't it? They want us to live like in a Hunger Games. They will oppress you and get your children. Yeah, absolutely. And I am labeled crazy. Yeah. Um, well, they've called that we've been so harassed and so threatened and called every name, and you just have to be like a duck. You have to let it roll off and stay very focused and stay, of course, with great faith in God and move forward and don't let them distract you with their psyop games because all the name calling and everything like that, there's so many bots, right? There's so many paid operatives for these operatives like Alejandra de la Vega, Foster. I mean, she has some resources. So, same thing with Veronica Escobar, same thing with Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke, hired the family of La Diabla. Can you believe it? So it's, they have resources. They hire people to do the most horrendous things. And we've just, we know it because we've lived through it and we have hard evidence that we lived through it. So, and we filed, right? We've even documented it and filed it. So, and these are, really psyop distractions, and you have to absolutely, um, um, put your blinders on to those. Uh, I don't want to say blinders because they need to be documented and filed, right? Because it is very criminal what they're doing. But you really need to stay focused and move forward, and that's the hard part because there's so many rabbit holes to go down, right? There's so many rabbit holes, but stay focused and really. Um, it looks like the person that we need to look to is President Trump. I mean, he's gotten so many of these cartel leaders and made it possible for us to speak more freely, live more freely, and fight these cartel networks. So I just am very appreciative of that. And thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.